Having a life certificate is an official document used to verify that a pensioner is still alive and eligible to receive pension from the government. So today on Finance Matters, we look at the role of the Accountant General's Department, AGD, in the administration of this important paper. We also take you through the process of applying for a birth certificate. You are watching Jamaica Magazine and I am Theodore Henry. Welcome.
How many more must die because of reckless drivers? How fast is too fast? Make we take time, no man. Obey the rules of the road. Drive with care.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, November 24, 2022. A new water treatment plant will be constructed in Content, St. Catherine to better meet the demand in the Kingston metropolitan area, Portmore, and Spanish Town. The plant, which is expected to be the second largest in Jamaica, will be able to transfer 15 million gallons of water to benefit approximately 150,000 customers. The project is valued at $77 million and construction is slated to be completed in 2 years. It will be managed through a public-private partnership agreement between the National Water Commission, NWC, and Rio Cobre Water Limited. The contract was signed at Jamaica House yesterday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the agreement will facilitate the design, build, financing, operation, and maintenance of the plant.
Followed by a 23-year period of operation by the private partners, after which ownership of the plant will be transferred to the NWC. The PPP arrangement may also be renewed for an additional 5 years.
Mr. Holness says the plant is a necessity as the growth of several sectors, such as real estate, continues to expand, creating higher water demand across the KMA. He points out that the NWC is required to supply approximately 55 million gallons of water required daily in the KMA, but is currently only able to provide 28 million gallons during the dry season.
So this project is one of the many solutions that we will have to put in place. Right across Jamaica, the NWC in every parish is increasing its utility footprint, meaning that it is providing potable water to a large number of residents.
The country continues its growth trajectory for the year with a 4.3% upward movement for the July to September quarter. Performance for the first 9 months shows an estimated increase of 5.2%. The figures were released by the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, yesterday during its virtual quarterly press briefing. Growth for the third quarter was due to a 4.7% increase in the services industry and over 3% from the goods-producing industry relative to the same period last year. Director General of the PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, says this largely reflects higher levels of employment and productivity in agriculture, as well as higher demand for goods and services. Sectors such as tourism, agriculture, and wholesale and retail were among the top performers. Dr. Henry says the short-term prospects for the economy remains positive.
Economic growth is anticipated for the remainder of this calendar and fiscal year. For October to December 2022, it is projected that the economy will grow within a range of 2.5% to 3.5%, resulting in a calendar year growth, that is January to December 2022, in the range of 4% to 5%. For fiscal year 2022-23, the projection is for growth within the range of 3.5% to 4.5%.
In related news, there has been a jump in government revenue collection for the first 6 months of this fiscal year, with tax revenues exceeding budget by $35 billion. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, says the outturn is due to higher than expected economic performance.
First quarter growth came out at 5.7%, which is much higher than we had. And, Madam Speaker, all categories of revenue are over budget. Revenues from income and profits are up by nearly 13%, or $10 billion.
In addition, he says revenues from production and consumption are up by 7%, or $7 billion, and revenues from international trade are up by 15%, or $18 billion. Revenues from motor vehicle licenses for the first 6 months of the year are 16% higher than budgeted. Dr. Clark was speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, where the first supplementary estimates for the 2022-23 fiscal year was approved. It reflects $60 billion in additional spending, moving the budget to $971 billion. The largest component of the supplementary budget is the allocation for public sector salaries and wages, in keeping with the restructuring of compensation. Cabinet has approved the award of a contract to U.S.-based company Phoenix Partnership Leads Limited for implementation of the second stage of the Electronic Health Record (EHR) management system. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton gave the update during this Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives. The EHR management system provides an electronic version of a patient's medical history, including demographics, progress notes, problems, medications, vital signs, past medical history, immunization, laboratory data, and radiology reports. The intention is to provide a complete and accurate summary of an individual's medical history, which can be shared to improve the delivery of care and provide quality data for decision makers across the country's health facilities.
This, therefore, will result in a more efficient diagnosis and treatment. Madam Speaker, with this linking of health records, the cross-matching and information sharing between health centers and hospitals will now be possible. Never before done, it is now possible, or going to be possible with this new intervention. This will result in a significant savings for the patients, as test results will be readily available, and the possibility of completing tests more than once will be significantly reduced.
The contract for phase 2 of the project is valued at just over $5 million or $779.5 million Jamaican dollars. Dr. Tufton says the 18-month implementation period for this contract will, in the first instance, see the rollout of the EHR in 13 facilities across 3 parishes. The EHR management system is part of the Support for the Health System Strengthening for the Prevention and Care Management of Non-Communicable Diseases program. It is financed by the Inter-American Development Bank at a cost of $50 million. In other health news, the Ministry of Health is introducing a pilot project that incorporates animals in healthcare interventions for pediatric patients at the Bustamante Hospital for Children. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton says the Animal Assisted Recovery and Care AARC pilot project will be implemented this Christmas and run for 18 months. It will target patients undergoing surgery or medical treatment that require long-term hospitalization, providing them with comfort to aid in their recovery. Minister Tufton says the goal is to reduce the anxiety and stress associated with hospitalization, cut the length of hospitalization, lessen the need for pharmacological interventions, and improve the social environment for healthcare delivery. A golden retriever named Dr. Teddy Barks, affectionately called Teddy, is the brand ambassador for the project and will be the main therapy animal. Several other animals will also be used in the project, including birds, rabbits, and kittens, following appropriate screening.
They are to come from either the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, JSPCA, the Hope Zoo, or the Montego Bay Animal Haven. And the Hope Zoo, Madam Speaker, will be responsible for Teddy's full care and maintenance under this pilot project.
The minister says a policy and procedural guideline document has been developed to outline the actions for the safe implementation of the AARC pilot project. The Southeast Regional Health Authority, SARA, will oversee the implementation of the project, while a multi-sectoral AAI committee has been convened to provide technical coordination and support, including animal handler compliance and animal welfare. The project will be evaluated at 6-month intervals, and a monitoring and evaluation framework has been developed to assess the pilot.
If successful, Madam Speaker, Cabinet submission will be made seeking approval of the development of the ARC program in the public health facilities island-wide.
And finally, 101 firearms and 3,000 rounds of ammunition were handed over to the authorities under the gun amnesty, which ended recently. During the 2-week amnesty, the security forces also recovered 22 illegal firearms. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure during Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives.
It has surpassed my expectation. But there are still many more, thousands more firearms, illegal firearms in our country, not to mention illegal ammunition.
He says a number of the firearms that were turned in are from individuals who had not licensed the weapons for several years or who may have inherited them and did not bother to get them regularized.
The amnesty was necessary to give those persons an opportunity to dispose of these weapons without having to bear the consequences of the new penalties under the new act.
The Prime Minister is warning that persons found in breach of the Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act 2022 will face the full penalty of the law. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
To deal with crime and violence, we must be united. Please cooperate with the security forces. Call 311-119 or the JDF tip line. If you know something and you not talk, you're a part of the problem.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
A question often asked by government pensioners is, how often are life certificates due? The answer is every 3 months. And the Accountant General's Department, AGD, has been going into communities with its mobile unit to administer the service.
Do you know if you're qualified for government pension? Why must pensioners present a life certificate? Pensioners should submit their life certificates to the Accountant General's Department, AGD. The AGD is the country's treasury and the operational department within the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service charged with facilitating and reporting on the flow of funds within the public sector. The department is responsible for handling the administration of salaries paid to public sector workers of 13 ministries and departments, as well as the distribution of pensions and gratuities to former employees and their families. Are you contributing to a pension scheme? Hi, I'm Shaquille Rochester Shorter and welcome to Finance Matters. Today, I will be speaking with Mr. Raja Harrison, Deputy Accountant General of Financial Operations at AGD, about the company's mobile drive life certificate collection and other services being offered. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow the Ministry of Finance on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn to see all the episodes and highlights. Mr. Harrison, thanks for joining us. Why is life certificate so important to pensioners? What is it?
Well, the life certificate, pleasure having me, firstly. The life certificate is a form that originates from the Accountant General's Department. And each pensioner is required to complete it, and a certifying officer, which is listed below, whether it's a justice of the peace, police, or teacher at a particular level, should be certifying that form and have it returned to the Accountant General's Department. It is important because without that form being returned on a quarterly basis, the pension payment will be suspended.
Why must it be returned on a quarterly basis?
Well, currently the policy in place requires that it be submitted quarterly, and we are governed by that as we speak.
We understand that AGD is doing a mobile drive. Tell us about it.
Okay, so the mobile drive, this came through especially during the COVID period. We're still going through that. There was several challenges with the postal system, and we realized that our pensioners were being suspended because one of the reasons possible was that the life certificates were not coming back in time, which was no fault of theirs because the postal service was having some challenges. And therefore we took the initiative at that time to go and reach our pensioners in the parishes in which they are residing. And that's how it was birthed, and from that we have been continuing to do that. So once pensioners receive their life certificate, we go each parish on a quarterly basis at a Jamaica Library Service Department, and we will meet them there. It's promoted throughout media, social media, radio programs, and they are aware of these dates, and then they will come out and hand them to us, and we will get them directly to the office, and therefore it takes out firstly the mailing costs, and the convenience is also there for them.
Which parish are you going to next?
Well, we have completed our life certificate collection drive. Just, I think it was last week. We have gone through all the parishes. With
all 14 parishes?
With the exception of St. James, because we have a drop-box facility there. So all of the others we have visited. And Kingston.
All right.
Except for those two.
Yes, because they can just drop it off.
Right there, correct.
So how much money would you say is paid out annually in pensions?
It's approximately $40 billion.
40 billion is paid out annually?
Yes.
To pensioners. So what is the difference now between the government pension and the NIS pension scheme?
Well, the government pension scheme, government pension overall, is paid to persons who are employed or former employees of central government.
Okay.
Now, the NIS pension scheme, once you're employed, whether privately or publicly, once you contribute to the NIS, you are entitled to a pension after a particular period of years. So one is central government, budgeted funded persons who are paid and are retired. The other, it doesn't have to be employed to government. You can be in the private sector and contribute to your pension scheme, NIS, and therefore you're still entitled to an NIS pension.
So where can Jamaicans find more information about the pension scheme?
The pension scheme for the AGD, you can find more information about it at our website. That's www.treasury@gov.jm, and all the information will be there.
Well, Mr. Harrison, thank you for coming on our program and telling us about the AGD. And thank you for joining us on this episode of Finance Matters. Remember to follow us on social media at MOF Jamaica and tune in next week as we continue to demystify the economic and fiscal policies and initiatives implemented by the government to empower Jamaicans as we chart a path to Jamaica's economic prosperity.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Let's head over to the Registrar General's Department as we take you through the steps of applying for a birth certificate.
The Registrar General's Department, RGD, is an executive agency and Jamaica's sole repository of birth records. Every birth that occurs in Jamaica must be registered with the RGD. This establishes a permanent and official record of each person's existence, where they were born, and the identity of their parents. This affords the individual the right to an official identity and nationality, which is also the basis for accessing social and economic benefits. The registration process typically begins shortly after the mother gives birth in hospital or a birthing facility, where the relevant form is completed by a registration officer. The process is complete once all relevant signatures are affixed to the document and the registration fee is paid. Some parents are required to do a follow-up visit with the RGD for one or more reasons. If the couple is unmarried, they may have to visit to have the father's particulars added to the form. If a child's name was not decided at birth, the parent must submit a certification of naming form. The birth certificate will be issued within 3 months for babies who were named in the hospital. Where the registration of birth is done digitally, the RGD also has the capacity to provide digital birth certificates so that parents will be able to leave the hospital with the document. Beyond bedside registration, to get a birth certificate, you must apply to the Registrar General's Department. This can be done online at www.rgd.gov.jm or by visiting any of the RGD's offices across the country. When applying, ensure that you have the following information for the person or child on whose behalf you are seeking the birth certificate: the full and correct spelling of the person's name, their sex, date, and place of birth, as well as the parish. You also need the birth entry number, full and correct spelling of the person's mother and father's names, date, and place of registration. If you don't have a birth entry number, you will need to fill out an online birth search application form. The birth entry number is on the top right-hand corner of the birth certificate, usually 2 letters and 3 or 4 numbers if you have an old one, and on the certificate of registry or the pink slip. Complete the application form and make the required payment for either the express or regular service using your credit or Visa debit card. The Registrar General's Department lists the costs for getting a certified copy of a birth certificate on its website. The current price to get the first copy is $1,500 Jamaican dollars. Additional copies will cost $500 each. Normally, it takes anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks to process a birth certificate application. However, you can make use of the RGD's 7 to 10 business days express service or 3 to 4 business days express service. If you are overseas, you also have the option of asking a family member or friend in Jamaica to assist you with getting the birth certificate. This option is usually less costly and tends to be the fastest route. Express applications for overseas customers are processed within 7 to 10 business days, and ordinary applications are processed within 4 to 6 weeks. All overseas customers will receive 2 copies of the certificate at costs based on the region in which they reside. If the child was delivered at home or any place outside of a hospital or birthing center, the parents must visit the RGD with an informant, that is, a witness or household member, to register the birth. Ideally, this should take place within 6 weeks of the birth or up to a year, the latest. Persons who fail to register their children's birth within the specified year will have to complete a late registration form. This then creates a record of the birth, which is needed before making an application for a birth certificate. Among the information required for completing the late registration form are your child's first primary or prep school records, baptismal record, 3 statutory declarations, a list of all children born to the mother, and a certificate of naming. A late registration fee of $6,000 is charged for processing in 4 to 6 weeks and $8,500 for 7 to 10 business days. Parents will be interviewed as part of the application process and will receive a birth certificate when the process is completed, with the standard RGD service cost and processing time applied.
History and perhaps culture have kept many women a rung lower on the professional ladder and firmly planted in fields once deemed a man's domain. But more women are going beyond the expected and dismantling these stereotypical norms. One of the biggest areas in which they're going beyond the unseen rules guiding gender and professional expectations is hydrology.
Hi, I'm Alexia Gray and I'm a woman in hydrology.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hutchings and I'm a hydrogeologist at the Water Resources Authority. And yes, I'm a woman.
I ended up being a hydrologist completely by accident, by serendipity. I wanted to do engineering when I finished high school, but I didn't get into the program when I first applied. So I enrolled in geology and physics classes in my first year at university, and the rest is history.
As a hydrogeologist, some of my routine work includes wells and stream flow monitoring and measurements. I also do water quality sampling, and I create maps and do reports. So essentially, my work takes me traveling around Jamaica in search for water sources. Hydrogeology was something I've always wanted to do. So from high school, I wanted to be a geologist. So I went to UWI to do geology. And then that led me into a career at the WRA, where now I work in water. And I've come to appreciate water as the most invaluable natural resource on earth.
Despite ideas of progress not always matching parity, or the whole narrative of what's a man's or a woman's job, what these women are doing is significantly impacting lives right across the country.
The Water Resources Authority has 3 main roles. We investigate queries about new and existing water sources or resources. We collect data in terms of stream flow and quality, and we also allocate water to users such as the NWC, which is our biggest user, and other entities.
In order to allocate water, we would have to have an understanding of how much water is available. So we would do data collection, such as flow measurements or well measurements, and understand how much water is available to see how much water is in demand, and then we do the calculations. So where there is a deficit, water is usually supplied from areas where there's a surplus to balance things out.
For these women, their duties also expand to providing responses in times of drought.
The key to drought resiliency is improved capture and storage of water. Jamaica has more than enough water to serve its population. However, our problem is that we do not capture enough of it, and we do not have enough storage for the population. So the key is to capture it, reduce leaks, and to build more storage, install tanks, build more dams, and other types of reservoirs.
They're also testing and assessing the quality of our groundwater while keeping us all in the know.
Jamaica's groundwater quality is generally good. It meets the ambient standard, the national ambient standard. Ambient meaning doesn't need any treatment, right? However, there are a few basins that are contaminated due to pollution or saltwater intrusion. But for the most part across the island, our groundwater is pretty good for domestic use. However, for agricultural and industrial users, they may need to treat their water to international standards, depending on what they're going to use it for.
And as for their perception on why the profession of hydrology or hydrogeology remains a male-dominated field?
For a hydrologist or hydrogeologist, being out in the field means doing physical and practical tasks. It usually includes long drives out of town, hiking through river valleys, over hills in search for water. The profession is usually male-dominated because we live in a society and a culture where men are usually seen as physically stronger, and they also require less security in the field.
Women were not allowed to work, we were not even allowed to become educated to do these jobs. So that has been changing with changing attitudes of both men and women. It's improving, but we have a far way to go.
And just like these 2 female hydrologists, many women are stepping into diverse professions, and are changing the older narrative to craft their own stories.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Join us again tomorrow when we bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you are online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.